So the criminal process is now over, but is there still potential here for other legal action by either side? Daniel Lublin is an employment lawyer in Toronto, and he joins me now in studio. So let's begin with Ghomeshi. The criminal phase is over, which leaves open the civil phase. We've heard in the past that he couldn't sue the CBC, for instance, because he was a member of the union, but are there other remedies available to him? Defamation, for instance.
Defamation would be a bad idea in my view. In fact, it'd probably be a terrible idea. If I was his lawyer, I wouldn't recommend it. Main reason being is truth is a defense to any claim of defamation. So having just gone through a criminal trial, I fail to see how Mr. Ghomeshi would want to put his actions back on trial. Anyone that he would want to sue for defamation, including the people that accused him of these crimes, would have the right to stand up and say, he did this to me. So he would be relitigating exactly what he went through again.
So if we don't expect, based on what your perspective is, that Ghomeshi would pursue any legal action going forward, that then turns it to the other side, which is, say, Catherine Burrell. What legal remedies do you think are open to her?
It wouldn't be the first time that there's been an instance of someone who's been acquitted of a crime, and then there has been complainants that have gone on to pursue criminal charges. Remember the O.J. Simpson case. Mr. Simpson was acquitted of a crime, but then sued and found guilty in civil court for a wrongful death. So there is precedence for that type of thing, but I think it would be unlikely here for two reasons. Number one is there's a statute of limitations that would be in play. Anything that's longer than 2 years old would be stale, probably thrown out of court unless there was an exception, and exceptions are hard to come by. And second is it would be difficult, having seen the experience that people had going through the Ghomeshi trial, to want to put themselves through that again. There were a lot of complaints about the way it was handled in victims' rights and how they had to stand up and testify for what they felt happened to them. You'd have to question whether people would want to do that again.
The statute of limitations, or I guess that's what you'd call it in the civil arena, I'm not sure, but on the criminal side, there is no statute of limitations on sexual assault.
Correct.
As we see all the time, there are allegations that date back decades sometimes. But in the civil arena, that's different?
Yeah, so there's a 2-year limitation period for any civil claim, subject to certain exceptions. And the exception, the main one being, if you just discovered something recently that may have happened to you a long time ago. So I find it interesting that the statement from Catherine Burrell today was, and this may be coincidence, but it was very particular to say that she didn't identify that this was an actual sexual assault until she went to police, and she gave the time frame of 2014. So depending on when that was, it may still be within the 2-year limitation period.
This case in many ways is exceptional, in part because of the attention it's received. But is it common or uncommon for people who would be involved in a sexual assault trial, such as this one, to pursue a legal remedy in the civil courts, or is that just very rare?
It's not unheard of, and I think the finding of the acquittal in this case, even though there's a different standard of proof, probably would have a lot to say about anyone wanting to come forward. I think the main problem is the experience that some of the complainants had at the trial would probably send a negative message to others that coming forward would be very difficult in terms of going through a trial like this. It's one thing to go to police and have prosecutors say, we're going to take your case, we're going to do this for you. It's quite another thing to go to a lawyer and say, I want to pay you to pursue civil charges.
Is it because you'd be really, I guess in some ways, much more on your own? You're really driving the bus?
Certainly. I mean, financially, number one. And number two is you'd have to stand up and tell your story and be subjected to cross-examination.
Is there a takeaway that you see as someone who's part of the legal community and watching all of this unfold? We heard Ghomeshi's lawyer herself say today that in 25 years of practicing law, she'd never seen attention to a case like this that she'd been a part of. And she's been a part of some very high-profile cases.
Certainly, I agree with that. From a workplace lawyer's perspective, I've never seen a case that's garnered this much attention. But I think the narrative's gotten a little bit away from what happened in the workplace to more about Mr. Ghomeshi. And I think really the breaking news that came out of it from my perspective as a workplace lawyer today is when Ms. Burrell said, I told CBC what happened, and basically it was brushed under the rug and I was told I have to deal with it. That really raises very, very significant issues for a workplace lawyer as to how should employers deal with sexual assault, sexual harassment in the workplace? What should they do? What rights do individuals have when they make a complaint? How are these things investigated? Are employees ensured that there is no reprisals for making complaints? So these are the issues that I draw from it as a workplace lawyer.
And I'm wondering if you think that, industry at large, whether it's broadcasting or any industry, is starting to frame a different conversation, that this case has driven that.
The narrative has definitely changed. I've seen a lot of companies come forward to my firm, to my organization, to make changes to the policies that we have. Certainly it's at the forefront of everyone's attention. So I don't think that companies are as likely to try to avoid or deal with these types of issues in the way that maybe they did previously. I certainly think they're trying to make a better effort to deal with it within the confines of the law.
Interesting perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Toronto-based employment lawyer Daniel Lublin has joined me in studio on this.